I have reached the end of the journey with my long-term goal exercises. So what's going to happen with this video is the remaining 150 exercises are going to be playing in the background for you to see. And hopefully, while I go through each one, you are seeing any goal that can inspire you to start writing goals, because that is really the reason for the series. I just love the idea of goal creating and want to inspire other people to find that passion for themselves and start to create beneficial goals for their future. There are a few points that I've picked up here to talk about and to briefly explain a few of them. So firstly, why set goals? I believe that it's important to have clear goals, to define your goals and have that direction and purpose that I've mentioned in my previous video. It helps you have that clarity and define your future, really. It helps you point the direction of where you want things to go and how you want to lead your life. That's what it's done for me. It's made me more accountable, but also it's made me someone that is ready to take responsibility for my life. I'm ready to set targets that I want to achieve. It's because it's really about me. And when you start to take the seat that I'm gonna sit down and think about myself and my future, it's very beneficial, especially if, like me, didn't really prioritize my own future and really focus on how I can help others, but not most importantly, help yourself first. That's what the advice I would have for myself. So hopefully you could resonate with that in some way. So that is one of the main reasons why I would say to set goals. Goals help you define your future, have that clarity, and take ownership. The next thing would be my personal experience with setting goals over the past, so I started in March of 2022, ended around July 2023, so a year and a half worth of almost consistently writing goals, almost daily. I was able to refine a lot of my techniques in terms of goal creating and really start to figure out what are effective goals. And to move on from this point would be the next thing is SMART goals. Understanding the SMART criteria was something that tremendously helped me in terms of making beneficial goals, because when you just make goals that have no background behind them in terms of research and actually understanding if you are capable to achieve this, they're really just dreams, and dreams in the bad way. The one that you go to sleep, you have a dream and you forget about the dream. What's important about these goals is that you don't just write them down and throw it away. Try your best to create goals that you can actually achieve, that are actually within your capabilities and not beyond your limitations. So the SMART criteria is an acronym of these 5 letters: SMART. Specific, which is specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. It's effective because you categorize your goal into each of these 5 criteria and you figure out whether your goal is something reasonable for yourself. Putting your goal through this system is very effective. It's almost like putting your goal through a TSA system where there's a lot of security, making sure that everything is good to go in terms of achieving your goal, because goals is a 2-part system. One is setting the goals and the other is achieving the goals. If you want the whole package, you have to make sure that it is something reasonable for you to even achieve. So the specific side of things, make sure that your goal is specific. Don't have it very broad. And with these exercises, you can try test things out. It's not very strict, but when you really want to focus in and create goals that are long-term or short-term but are very beneficial, try create goals that are specific. Next would be measurable. Find a way to track this goal that you're trying to achieve. Can you measure its success as you're progressing towards it? Thirdly is achievable. Probably the most important part of this acronym. If it's not achievable, then there's no really benefit. There's not much benefit of setting the goal, because if your goal is to achieve this goal, then what's the point of even trying if you make it non-achievable? And that's the whole idea behind making it within your capabilities, but not beyond your limitations. Next would be relevant. Have it relevant to what you're trying to, the bigger picture. Is it relevant to your purpose, your values, what you stand for? And next would be time bound. Have a way to have a time limit involved to add pressure to yourself to achieve it within this time limit, and also get you started and get you moving. If you don't have a time limit, you can start delaying things, procrastinating, and leave off to a point in time where you are so far ahead 20 years later, and you probably forgot what the goal even was. Next is identifying your goals. You have to identify what do you truly want to achieve, like in the different aspects of your life. What kind of things do you want to achieve in terms of your career, your education, your business ventures, in terms of entertainment wise, in terms of social time, in terms of extracurricular activities like sports? What kind of things do you want to achieve? Identifying those things is essential to creating goals. And really, for me, it was after I started trying to create goals is when I started to look for those things and search for those. So this personal goal exercise journey was really something that helped me with that. The next point is breaking down your goals. And personal goal exercises is ideally the perfect way to do it. When you have this array, you can have an array from a goal for 60 seconds from now to 60 years from now. It helps a lot with breaking down goals and figuring out how time plays a role in these goals, because depending on how much time you have, of course this is a given, but depending on how much time you have will limit you in a way. So if you have 60 minutes to achieve something, it's a lot more pressure if it was something that required 60 hours. So breaking down your goals into something from a large mountain of a goal, like a Mount Everest, into small actionable steps is essential, very essential, so you don't feel overwhelmed by what's to come. Okay, so the next two things I'll talk about is setting short-term goals and setting long-term goals. There is a big difference, and hopefully with personal goal exercises that I've shown, and that if you attempt them, you can see where the differences are. The biggest difference is, how I've just mentioned, is the time aspect. How much time do you have to achieve something? Depending on that is how you categorize it into a short-term or long-term goal. Play with the two. Try out setting long-term goals, set short-term goals. See how your attitude is towards both, and where do you fit in terms of motivation towards achieving both of these kind of goals. The next important aspect is tracking your progress. I would say this is very essential. If you don't track where you are with the goal, then you're just going to be lost. You're going to be lost. You're going to create 500 goals and forget about 400 of them. And 50 of them you wouldn't even have started. You need to find a way to track your goals, and a method of doing so, it could be many things. For example, whether it's digital like Excel, spreadsheets, online journals, apps, or written ways like journaling on your notebook, a to-do list, or like a verbal way, communicating with others, having accountability partners, joining social groups that are in the same field of work as you, or same passion as you. Make sure that there is a way to track your goals, because if you start to track your goals, you'll be much more driven to achieve them as you see progression or maybe lack of progression, and it will be a cause for you to adjust your steps and achieve the things you want to achieve. Next thing is to adjust your goals. I've mentioned this in the last video, but it's essential to adjust your goals and figure out how you can create that adjustment as you adjust your personality and you adjust your mindset. Don't be someone that is so hard-headed on your goals that you have now. Make sure that as you change as a person and your values change and your direction in life changes, change your goals along with it. And this is just a message to the hard-headed people. Generally, people get the message of, when I change as an individual, I'll change my goals along with me. But some people are very strict on the things they write on paper, and they're not tangible with their goals. The goals are something that you create, you mold. So mold it around your life. Staying motivated is something that is difficult when you don't have the right tools or the right environment around you. I just believe it's good to have the right methods of boosting motivation. Have the right people around you that will give you words of motivation and words of positive things that will keep you going. That's essential to staying afloat. And that was one thing that I really lacked, and I wish I had more of. Having the right people around me, having people that were willing to help me, and I can help them grow and give each other motivating words, which is unfortunate, but it's something that is essential. Overcoming obstacles is something that occurs when you try pursuing your goals. When you don't have any goals to pursue, you don't have any obstacles to overcome, because there's nothing ahead of you that you're trying to tackle that is currently maybe beyond your abilities, but as you gain your skills, you can achieve it. That puts obstacles in your way for putting in the hard work and the discipline to achieve something. The key here thing is that there will be factors at play wherever you're at. It depends on your circumstance, but there will be factors that you can rely on to boost your motivation to be able to overcome obstacles. My own personal ones were dependent at that time and probably won't play a factor now, but key elements like, finding forms of relaxation and finding ways to rejuvenate my mind, to recharge my mind and come back in a stronger, more refreshed version of myself is one way I can overcome obstacles. Reflection is great. And this is a form of reflection right now, like looking through all of my personal goal exercises is a form of reflection, and it helps you understand who you were before, which further helps you define who you are now and where do you want to go in the future. This is a further element of understanding yourself, and it's impossible to fully understand yourself, but slowly, if you take steps to understand who you are and what do you want to do and why do you want to do certain things, it can be beneficial in understanding where do you want to go. Staying motivated, and I've already mentioned staying motivated, but learning from your failures is something essential. Using your failures as stepping stones is the key thing to do, and unfortunately when we try to apply this teaching, what happens is that we throw it out the window and we completely forget, and instead we use failure as a wall in front of us to stop us progressing further than we should. It's a hard lesson to teach, but it's once you go through that lesson yourself through experience, you have more sympathy for the statement. Use your failures as stepping stones to success. Failures is a way to learn what not to do, and that helps you in knowing what to do, because you've just knocked something out of the park. You've understood that this thing won't lead me to success. I could try another method or another direction. The role of self-discipline. Self-discipline is very, very key. It helps you stay on track with your goals. If you're not self-disciplined, unfortunately, you may go 60% of the way, 70% of the way, but that remaining 30 to 40% will always be something that you don't reach, you don't get to, because you've almost made it, but something happens along the way, you lose motivation and you decline. But where motivation declines, self-discipline can give that extra inch, that extra mile to be able to achieve your goal. It just helps you with that extra level of staying committed to something when it gets hard, when it gets tough. Staying disciplined to it is something that gets you there. Maintaining balance. So when you're creating goals, it's important to consider all aspects of your life and consider how you can create a set of goals that target your life holistically. Like, how do you target the four avenues of your life? How do you make sure that your goals are balanced in that way, that you consider your family, you consider yourself, you consider your work life, your community, your friends, opportunities. How do you figure that? How do you make sure that balance is something you prioritize? It requires a lot of consideration, a lot of conversation to figure out the best way to approach it. But it's something that you should have on the table when creating goals. Something you should consider at the least. The impact of the environment is another great thing to talk about. Is how is your goals affecting those around you? Is your goal benefiting those around you? Is your goal having no effect? Or is your goal negatively affecting those around you? Depending on that answer will depend on if that goal is something you should try to achieve. If that goal is negatively affecting the people around you, don't go for that goal because it's not beneficial. Excuse me. If your goal is something that is balanced, where it doesn't have any sort of effect on your community, you could go for that. It's quite a self-driven goal, but it's something you could go for. If it's beneficial to other people around you, you should go for it because it's something that helps benefit others and it helps rise other people's motivation or skills. So it's something very beneficial. So sharing your goals. This is something where it's really dependent on you. It's really depending on who you are as a person. Are you a private person? Are you someone who likes to share things? Also, the benefit of sharing it has to be considered. Is there a big benefit to sharing these things, or are you just someone who is self-driven, trying to show off what you can achieve? And if it's self-driven, trying to show off and trying to boast and put down others, don't go that route because it's very egotistical, a lot of pride involved, and will lead to people being envious, jealous of you, and angry towards you because you get lost in the source. You get lost in yourself, trying to prove to other people. You lose yourself in that avenue. The way it should be is that if you view it as something that will benefit others, share it, of course. And if you're comfortable with sharing your private goals, or if you want to share the more generalized goals where it's not really private to you, share them, because if that could benefit others and you have the intention of helping people, that's a noble intention. It's something to be proud of and something that you shouldn't be ashamed of. I believe that there is a lot of benefit to the right place, the right time, and if you find the right place and the right time to share your goals, go ahead. So the long-term vision. Having a long-term vision is key. With goals, it naturally occurs. When you start creating goals for short-term and long-term, you start thinking about the bigger picture and how far can I go? How far can I accomplish in terms of, okay, I've set this long-term goal. Now I need to think, how can I build my future around it? And having that long-term vision is something that comes after. That is something that came to me after I started creating long-term goals. And it did definitely help in terms of thinking about a brighter future, thinking about a future that is beneficial to not only me, but to others. And as we come to the end, here you can see I've reached the end of this 150 exercises I did. It came to an end because I felt like I had written so many goals, but I wanted to really spend more time acting towards it without writing goals consistently. And that was a decision I personally made, not something that should be reflected upon any person taking that example. 300 shouldn't be the exit point for you. The exit point for you can be the first exercise, the 50th exercise, the 1000th exercise. It can be any point, but for me, 300 felt like a good point to exit. Well, I was quite content with doing them. I felt like I didn't want to get into the repetition of continuing doing them, and I don't really remember my mindset at the time, but that was the point behind it. I just felt like it was good. I was in a good place to move on, and I'm very happy I did. The message I'll leave off with is Use goals to benefit your future and others.